The opening words this morning are from the title of a book by Mahatma Gandhi called Experiments in Truth. I am but a seeker of truth. I claim to have found a way to it. I claim to be making a ceaseless effort to find it, but I admit that I have not yet found it. To find truth completely is to realize oneself and one's destiny to become perfect. I am painfully conscious of my imperfections, and therein lies all the strength I possess. We have an opportunity to have a moment or two of silent meditation, starting with a prayer. Prayer being an idea on which we can dwell. In this perfect, precious moment, with the rain falling on the outside, and for some of us, rain falling on the inside, right here and right now, love moves and lives and has its being as everything and everyone present. We give thanks for this day, for this moment, for this rain, knowing that the seed needs the darkness to change into new life. The reading this morning, also from Experiments in Truth. Gandhi says, "To see the universal and all-pervading spirit of truth face to face, one must be able to love the meanest of creatures as oneself. And a person who aspires after that cannot afford to leave out any field of life. That is why my devotion of truth has drawn me into the field of politics. And I can say without the slightest hesitation, and yet in all humility, that those who say religion has nothing to do with politics do not know what religion means." I love this community for so many reasons, and one of them is because we all play together. And when I said that I would come and I would speak a little bit about the experience of India, and hopefully you find something useful in it, everyone said, let's play also. So thank you, choir, for that beautiful offering of music. And thank all of you for playing with the bindi or the tika, puja, whatever term that you're familiar with the beautiful jewel on your forehead. People call it of different names, and what I understood from the beautiful people of India was, regardless of what name you give it, the intention is to focus on that third eye, that aspect of you that sees not with just your eyes, but sees from the heart and from a higher place. So it's a reminder for us that we have that place in us that sees something greater than what our senses can bring to us. And that would be a great beginning for talking about what India meant, what India could teach me, and maybe you find useful. India, just the name brings and conjures things, yes? How many were born and raised in the United States? Okay, anyone born and raised anywhere else in the room? Yes. Beautiful. So you've been a few places in European countries for the most part where you were raised. Yes, excuse me? Not for India. So most of us were born and raised in the United States and Europe, and we've heard of India. How many people have stories of India or ideas of India? How many people have actually been to India now? Okay, there's a few. So it's a faraway place. It's something that we've thought of. How many people have thought about it? It's on your list. I will go someday. Yes. And I was one of those people also. My wife and I had been talking about it for some time, and I know on my path in life, I knew India was waiting there for some moment when I felt ready. And I didn't feel ready. All these years of travel, and those people who know us know we travel a lot. We're not actually afraid to go most anywhere. And we spent a lot of time in many different countries in the world. But India I wasn't ready for. I didn't know exactly why. I finally felt ready. So we went this January, and we were there for a month. Let me give you a little context about India, because I needed it. I didn't understand where I was going, so I needed to study a little bit about this amazing, huge place as I imagined it, that I was going to go and visit. So what I learned about India, and just comparing it to where we live and breathe and have our being every day, that place is only 2.5% of the land mass on the globe, but it holds 15% of the world's people. That place, as compared to the United States, where we have 317 million or so of us wandering around on this amazing space that's about the third largest on the planet, whereas India has 1.2 billion people wandering around on it. About seventh in terms of size. The people there average in age about 25 years. 25 years old is the average age in India. In the United States, it's about 36. It's a different place. 81% of the people there claim as Hindu. In our country, 76% of the people acknowledge themselves as Christian of some kind. They have been in what is called a continuous civilization. And what that means is from that soil, that place, there have been civilizations that have come up and moved forward and gone away, but been carried on in some way by the people of the land continuously for 2,500 years. In the United States, as we know it, there was no continuation because we destroyed what we found. And we've been less than 250 years. With that perspective, I went to India knowing there was something that they could teach me and that I needed to know. What do I know here from this little place that's barely in its toddler stage? And what do they know, having been there as a people through so many changes that I don't know? So I learned all the traditional things that you think you would learn in India, all the wonderful words about the deities that people focus on, and I learned about that idea that I was taught that the Hindu people worship many different gods, those kind of things. That's what I was taught as a child. I studied and knew that wasn't the case, but I actually went there and saw that that wasn't the case in terms of their understanding of there being one thing that created us all. But it's so big, this idea of God, this idea of the all-pervading spirit, this idea of essence, this idea of the first cause is so big that they focus on an aspect that has personal meaning so they can contemplate the vastness and the hugeness of creation itself. So you'll hear things like Parvati and Vishnu and Krishna, Ganesh. Love those words, but I also love the food words too. Pakora, idli, rice cakes, yes. Of course, curry, which we think of as a spice, but they think of as a sauce. So experiencing all of that about India, the different words, the different ways of talking about things, and visiting many different locations, some more famous than others. So imagine India. This is India in the air here. And somewhere around the middle of India, let's say that's Mumbai, the old Bombay. We traveled up Udaipur, Sadargarh, which was a fort, a medieval fort, Jaipur, Agra, where you find the Taj Mahal, yes? And then Delhi. From there, we flew all the way down to the south, to Kerala, which is a completely different part of the country. So the first part of the trip was a lot of the things that you see, that you expect to see, the forts, the castles, the amazing throng of people in old Bombay, Mumbai. I saw what you would expect. You see that in movies. Yes, people on motorbikes with 5 or 6 people on them. Yes, people in the street. Yes, cows in the street. Yes, goats in the street. Yes, trucks brightly painted saying, "Honk, please." And we thought, why would they say that? There's honking going on constantly, a cacophony of sound. But in India, it means I'm greeting you, I'm here. And no one's irritated by it. So literally the trucks are painted in a colorful way saying honk please in the most beautiful paint that you could possibly imagine. Everything. The little tuk-tuks. Yes, the three-wheelers that you move around in. So I saw those things with my senses. So what did I see with my senses? What did I feel with my heart? And what was I left with in India? So seeing all that, in my eyes, what did I see that was most magnificent? Would I say it was the Taj Mahal? No, even though that was something I still can hardly believe that it exists when you see it in person. But it didn't take my breath away. What took my breath away was the eyes of the children. The beauty, the sheer, absolute, complete love coming from them. Every single village we went to. And that's a difference about India as well. We live, 80% of us or so, in cities in the United States. 70% of the people there live in villages. 550,000 different villages. And we went to many villages. And the children would wave and say, ta-ta, ta-ta, ta-ta. And they would follow after us and touch in a beautiful way and just gaze and look. We went to a backwoods area and learned about the way people live in a rural way, making bricks, and the way people live without running water or infrastructure, those kind of things. And we met a Sadhu who had locks like mine, and he was fascinated with his big, thick, white and gray ones. And we just looked at each other because he hadn't spoken to anyone in 20 years, so he didn't speak. He just looked. And everywhere we went, especially in the north of India, people did the symbol that we're so accustomed to in the yoga tradition. Namaste. 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 We heard that all day, every day, everywhere. Supermarket, outdoor market, restaurant, hotel, everywhere. Namaste. Looking at you. Everywhere we arrived, there was a blessing, a puja created with flowers, with the marking on the forehead, with the powder in different colors depending on the particular deity that that household or family focused on. Everywhere, the greetings, the love, everywhere. So I saw all those things, but I also saw the other things that you wonder about as well. I saw the trash. I saw the amount of trash. I saw the mounds of it. I saw it everywhere around the beautiful places. I saw it piled up. I saw children walking through it. I saw myself walking across it in order to get somewhere. I saw it on the beach. I saw it on the street. Everywhere. Trash. I saw laundry lying on the ground. I didn't understand how it could get clean, but that's where it was dried. I saw laundry hung up and people living in a place where all they did was laundry. I saw lunch boxes being delivered across the city of Mumbai. I was in a train with local people and saw their beautiful faces and how they travel. I saw all this with my eyes, and my mind wanted to judge. I went with the intention of keeping my heart open and not having judgment about what I saw, but it was really difficult because of the lack of infrastructure, because of the trash. And every once in a while, the little mind would say, now, why hasn't this been solved? Why hasn't this been solved? And then I reminded myself, wait a second, 1.2 billion people. And have we solved it here? I get to put mine away. I don't have to look at it. Someone picks it up. Someone takes it away and handles it and takes care of it. How many someones would it take for that to happen with 1.2 billion people living without infrastructure? And so I thought to myself, that's what I see, but what do I feel? What I feel is a sense of possibility and hope and love. And we went to a school with young people, and the school was all about teaching them positive ideas for life. And it literally was, and that's all they were taught. There was a document that I had that said, 100 reasons to be grateful, 1,000 reasons to say yes. And this was what they were being taught in their school. And they were so full of hope and joy and possibility for the world. This is what I felt. There was no sense of, please feel sorry for me. I did not see that one place. I'm not going to say that there weren't some people and a few children and others trying to beg in the street, and we were extremely cautioned against doing that because it would only bring a crowd, but we brought tools and pencils and pens and paper for the children and did things that were more organized. But that's not the preponderance of what I saw. The preponderance of what I saw were women in amazingly dressed saris. I don't care if they came out of something that looked like a shanty. It was impeccable, it was clean, it was starched. There was great pride in appearance. Every person, children wearing white going to school. And constantly peaceful. So what I felt was this love. And it was everywhere. It was palpable. People asked me, were you afraid in India? Were you concerned at any time? Now, I will say that we were on safari. We were in an air-conditioned bus. We were not in any danger at any time. Someone was always picking us up everywhere. But when we were walking around in the villages, how did I feel about the feeling of the people, coming off the people in the marketplaces, coming up to me, the children come? I felt only good. My hands were held. My eyes were looked into. There was curiosity and fascination about me. And then what was I left with after all that, after seeing everything and experiencing it all, and going to an amazing retreat in the South where the therapists give you their service as a form of, it has to be something sacred, that's the only word I could use. 2 people working on your body with oils and herbs and giving chants and blessings over you and your health and your wholeness and your vitality, giving of themselves for 2 hours at a time with complete love in their eyes, brought tears to me often, and they would be afraid that I was upset about something in the treatment. And I'd say, no, it's just you, what you're giving, without any holding back whatsoever. You ever been in a room with someone when you feel like there's no holding back whatsoever? And that's what it was like there. So I told you that what touched me the most and what was most beautiful were the children's eyes. And if I say what was I left with at the end of this, what was I most struck by, most moved by, then we come to Gandhi. We went to many places where he had lived. We went to many places that talked about his life. But the place that struck me the most was the place where you take his footsteps, the last footsteps he took on that fateful morning from that room. They've carved them out in cement and sprinkled flower petals on them, which are maintained every day. And you can walk the same walk. It's not a very long walk. To a small rise where he was to speak, where then his life was ended. And in that moment, I recognized this man for the first time. The little one with the loincloth, who stood his ground against governments and the world with his spinning wheel, staying clear to the path, searching for the truth. And as he learned that the freedom of his people was truth, and he tirelessly and never ever gave up, and then he felt that his life would be worthwhile if in the moment of his death, and he spoke about this just weeks before, he could face that person with total love. And the stories of that moment say he achieved that. Because as he fell, there was no resistance. There was only the word of God on his lips. So he never gave it up. This idea, this huge place with all these people. In his lifetime, maybe there were 700 million, not quite the 1.2 billion that there are today. But so many people he was in service to. In love with the Hindus, in love with the Muslim, in love with the Christian. Keeping none of them out, no one out of his field whatsoever. So from this man, I learned this idea of this never-ending journey we are on toward understanding that truth. If it is true that there's one, if it is true that we came from the same place, that the earth birthed us all equally from the same stuff, if it is so, how do we live in this world? And what he talked about was that word ahimsa, without violence. So I took that lesson and I said, what in me contributes to the trash in India? What in me contributes to any strife, any lack in India? The fact they don't have infrastructure, they don't have infrastructure. What in me contributes to the disparages and the disparate aspects in the world of who has and who doesn't have? What in me contributes to that? And what is my response? India says to us, there's one world, one place, and these 1.2 billion people who are loving in spite of their circumstances are great teachers. And they ask us to respect them, to love them, not to fix them, to contribute to the good of the planet because it is our mother. Our planet is all of ours. And they're not asking us to be good on behalf of them, they're asking us to be good on behalf of the whole. And their concern is not for India as a nation, their concern is for the world. Gandhi's concern was not for his boundaries. He knew that they were not real. He knew that if he didn't stand for truth in his country, and remember before he stood for truth in India, he stood for truth in South Africa as a lawyer, when he was kicked off the train because he was darker skinned, and he saw that this wasn't right. So he stood for truth wherever he was, and his life gives us an opportunity to do the same thing. Where I am, from where I am, what truth do I see? Was the trash of India the truth? Or the eyes of the children and the love that I felt the truth? What am I left with? Wonder, curiosity, gratitude, awe. And these are things available to us every day wherever we are. And if I can take anything from this amazing man that we called Gandhi, he reminded us in his writings about the Bhagavad Gita to focus on the changeless, the underlying essence beyond the senses. And he named it truth. And for Gandhi, truth is God. Not the other way around. Truth is God. Whatever you find is the ultimate. Whatever you find in your heart, and you know that it is true, therein lies the good, the Creator, the One, the ultimate presence. And our focus on that idea, on the changeless, we don't focus on the trash. We don't focus on the differences in our looks and our dress. We don't focus on the differences in our language. We don't focus on the differences. We focus on the essence that underlies everything. And we recognize that as my brother goes, there goes I. India is you and I. The trash they're experiencing is the trash we're experiencing. The smoky air, as they call it on their weather, smoke is our smoke. if we just open our hearts and our minds to include all as one. The world is better for this. Namaste.